welcome to Odds on Serie A fourth match day. We are going to analyze with Daniele Fisichella. How are you, Danny?
Ciao Edo, all very well. Well, mixed bag in European competition for Italian teams. A couple of defeats. Juventus won, Milan lost, but with honor in Liverpool. But now we got a very interesting Serie A round. Juventus-Milan on Sunday. That's the biggest game, but this season already two teams have sacked the managers. So let's see how Cagliari and Verona do this weekend.
And by the way, Juventus are not favorites anymore to win the title. The Scudetto. Inter are favorites in the outright market right now. So guys, leave a comment in the video, ask any question to Danny about this fourth match day. And of course, don't forget and click on the like, subscribe, and click on the bell to get notifications. Let's start, Danny. Today, Friday, we have a game, Sassuolo, Torino, probably two teams that you will tell me, but I think they probably deserve more points than what they have. They are in the middle of the table. Sassuolo with 4 points, Torino with 3, because Sassuolo, they lost to Roma 2-1, but deserve much more. Even that amazing goal scored by Scamacca in the last minute that was disallowed by an offside like 4 millimeters, whereas Torino, after 2 defeats against Atalanta and Fiorentina, they had the first victory of the season against the poor Salernitana. Sassuolo, really favorites here, of course, odds 2.0. Time for a home victory?
Probably. They were impressive in Rome. They were playing against a team that was in top form like Rome, but they stepped up to the challenge. And congratulations to Udinese, because he's really taken the team from where De Zerbi left. He hasn't changed it. His philosophy is very much keep the possession, keep the ball, move it quicker, play with a 4-2-3-1. And, he's one of the most interesting midfield in Serie A. Frattesi, the young one, you will hear a lot about him. I think he's going to be in Mancini's squad very soon. And Maxime Lopez. Small players, very technically gifted. Maybe they don't give you enough protection at the back, but then when the ball is at the feet, you can tell Sassuolo is playing. They also benefited from Berardi being back. He was left, out of the squad because of transfer rumors. So yeah, they really stepped up, and they had 5 or 6 clear-cut chances at the Olimpico. Not an easy place to go. Yes, they deserve at least a point, but I would say even 3 points would have been a fair result for them. However, with Sassuolo, and this is something that they carried on from De Zerbi, when you see them, you always feel they are a small mistake away from losing the game. In other words, their defense has always been the issue. I have the feelings if they had the better center backs rather than Chiriches and whoever is in partnership with him, they could even challenge for a Champions League spot. But unfortunately, the firepower at the front is not matched by the quality at the back. However, credit to the manager for making them play so well. Good performance from Torino against Salernitana. They finally created a lot of chances. We saw some of the new signings already on the pitch. Zima playing a right back at a good game. Brecalo, Praet. So, this is a team that has been strengthened quite a lot in the last few days of transfer market. And 4-0 against Salernitana without Belotti. So, something to be said about that. They will be without Belotti for this trip to Sassuolo. Also without Verdi, which is quite important, creative players up front. And, after 6 years, now they are ahead of Juventus, something that doesn't happen very much in Torino. But credit to Juric, because now we can start seeing the change in Torino, that kind of high press attacking football, what we have saw already in his Verona side. Juric has got quite a task in hand. He needs to transform a team that used to play on the counter, sitting back, apart from a small parenthesis with Giampaolo last year, who then got sacked, so it didn't work. He needs to transform this team into a more attacking team. However, for this trip tonight at the Mapei Stadium, the odds for Sassuolo, as we saw earlier, are good. 194. I saw 193 earlier, but very small difference. Yes, Sassuolo win.
The odds are going down actually for Sassuolo to win. When I checked them was 2.0. Right now it's actually 1.91. So Sassuolo even more favorites when the kickoff is getting closer. Then Genoa, Fiorentina, tough trip for Fiorentina. Probably a good test to see how serious they are because they look sharp in this start of the season. Great victory against Atalanta with Vlahovic scoring both goals from the penalty spot. And Genoa, they got the first victory of the season after coming back from a 2-0 to a 2-3 in Cagliari. Danny, they were also a bit unlucky in their defeat at home. It's never easy to win in Marassi. What do you expect here?
Genoa, after the last day of the transfer market, as I said in my previous video, out of a sudden they look stronger. They had the quality, they had the experience. Maximovic, Caicedo, Fares scored 2 goals at the weekend in Cagliari. They were losing. He was brought in by Ballardini, changed the game 3-2 with 2 headers. See you later, 3 points to Genoa. But congratulations to Ballardini because at halftime he changed 3 players. He decided to play with 3 up front. Destro, the young Callon, behind them was Pandev, and out of a sudden Genoa looked a different proposition. It's interesting to see if this could continue also at home, if they will play more on the front foot from the start, because what has penalized Genoa is that they often had slow start to games. They were losing the first half of San Siro against Inter Milan. They were losing the first half at home against Napoli. They were losing the first half at Cagliari, so they need to start games a bit quicker. And they play a Fiorentina that were really good on the counter-attack at Bergamo against Atalanta. They won 2-1. Vlahovic scored 2 penalties. He's in great form. He's going to be hot properties next summer for sure. But again, credit to the manager. The transformation from Iachini to Vincenzo Italiano, who last year was a Spezia, get them to play football much, much more. It's just much more enjoyable to see. They press higher, they are more aggressive, they retain the ball. The 2 wing backs are so high, they participate so much into the play. And all of a sudden, in midfield, with players like Torreira, Bonaventura, Hugo Castrovilli, and also, Callejon can help. All of a sudden, they play, they create chances. Yes, they scored 2 penalties, but they went into Atalanta's box quite a lot. Even the center backs, Milenkovic. Oh, my mistake. Milenkovic presses so high. It's so nice to see as well. Did well at Roma, Fiorentina, in the first game of the season, down to 10 men. They hold their own. They lost 3-1 in the end. This time they're going to have Nico Gonzalez, the Argentinian, back from the first minute because he was obviously in the bench because of the European qualifiers. Genoa starts the game slowly. Fiorentina look promising. Fiorentina to score first, 183.
Fiorentina to score first. I'm also surprised that Vlahovic stayed one more season in Firenze, so they have to enjoy the Serbian striker. We go to San Siro, Inter Bologna. Someone was saying already in the video, both teams to score in this Inter Bologna, both teams with 7 points. Inter, we know that they lost against Real Madrid in the Champions League, but they played a very good game, perhaps, Danny, like it happened against Sampdoria. Probably they suffer a little bit in the physical strength, so at the end of the game, the team was a little bit down, and good start, promising start for Bologna, 7 points. They were knocked out of the Coppa Italia in the first official game of the season. After that, they beat Verona, they drew against Atalanta, so good results for Mihailovic, man.
Yeah, it's a good team, 7 points. I think more perhaps than what they expected. But let's start with Inter. Let's not forget this is a team that is in transition, is rebuilding. Yes, Inzaghi is using the same system as Conte, 3-5-2. They lost the 2 most important players, Lukaku, Hakimi, and of course the manager, Conte. It's not a bad start for Inter. Sometimes a little bit of lapses of concentrations at the back, especially the weekend against Sampdoria. They conceded 2 goals they could have avoided with a little bit more of focus. But, after the midweek game, which was a positive one, although it was a defeat 1-0, Inter need to be careful not to be complacent and think, oh, it was almost a victory against Real Madrid. We almost beat them. No. You lost 1-0. You have to take credit for that, but also assess the mistakes you made. The second half, Inter lowered the rhythm too much. They miss a lot of chances. In Champions League football, you pay for it, maybe a little bit less in Italy. And also, in the game against Sampdoria, in the game against Real Madrid, the changes from the bench haven't really changed much. I know Inzaghi always liked to change like for like. First the two wing backs, then the center midfielder, then the attacker. I don't want to repeat myself. Last year I was saying a lot, does Inter have a plan B with Conte? I know they won the league, etc. But sometimes in European games, you need a plan B. For this one, I'm expecting changes also because they're going to play again midweek. There is another round of Serie A. Maybe Dzeko is going to make space for Correa. They look a little bit short in midfield because there's been another injury for Sensi. So Inter has to be cautious with this one. It's not going to be straightforward. Also because they're going to face a Bologna side that this year look more threatening going forward thanks to Arnautovic. And we already see his contribution in the victory against Verona, the way he holds the ball, brings the other players into play, create spaces. But, credit also to Bologna, who were a little bit leaky in the first couple of games of the season, including the Coppa Italia and a shocking defeat to newly promoted Serie B Ternana. But now they're looking a little bit more solid. They are conceding obviously less goals. Against Verona, they didn't concede even a shot on target. Verona would be abysmal. We're going to talk about this a little bit later. But maybe they lack, because they're more cautious, they sacrifice a little bit of creativity up top. And Mihajlovic, I don't think is going to go to Milan playing in toe-to-toe with Inter. They might risk to be cut open. I'm going to be cautious with this one. I know sometimes you don't like when I'm too cautious. Under 3 goals, 195. So if there are 3 goals in the game, you don't lose the stake. 2 goals in the game, you win 1.95.
Good odds, actually, for not seeing many goals in this game. Pavel is flagging us the double chance for Bologna. Odds 3.0.
2 years ago, Bologna won Milan 2-1. We were in full lockdown. Strange situation. 2-1. Last year, Inter won 3-1. So, Pavel, stranger things have happened.
Probably a stranger if Salernitana are able to stop Atalanta, although Atalanta didn't start the season as we all expected. Only 4 points after that defeat against Fiorentina. The only victory this season was a lucky one against Torino in the very last minute of the game. They played also in Champions League, a draw in Villarreal. But Salernitana, Dani, they look one of the worst teams in the 5 top leagues, especially because they are conceding so many goals. 11 goals in the first 3 games. That's a lot.
Worst defense in Serie A, easily said. Concede too many. They were too cautious again against Torino. I think they could have taken the game on to Torino a little bit more. Yes, I know they play with a 3-5-2, which basically is a 5-3-2 because the wing backs, they're not in the starting position, is very low. But up front, when you got Simi, when you got Bonazzoli, when you got Ribéry on the bench, I think you could try and play a little bit more. They get caught by the high tempo of Torino. A couple of mistakes at the back. Out of a sudden, the game was out of the reach. They troubled the Torino defense a little bit, but it was too late. Let's see if this is going to be a start for Ribéry in these home games. But they desperately need at least a point to get things moving. And they play an Atalanta team who comes on the back of a very good result al Madrigal against Villarreal. Great game, very open. Both teams went for it. That's why we like it. That's why both teams are entertaining. And, they played against the worst defense in Serie A, and Atalanta have been the best scoring team in Serie A for the last 3 seasons in a row. So you could expect goals here. Yes, of course, Atalanta going to be a little bit fatigued after midweek, but this year they have strengthened the team. They bought new players. Zappacosta is already playing. Koppe Myers. They got Demiral at the back, is playing and not playing, but we'll see more of it. Issues perhaps up front, still without Muriel. He will be out until mid-October, but I've started seeing glimpses of good Atalanta against Villarreal, whereas against Fiorentina, they were a little bit off-key. The only issue with Atalanta is the defense. It's always been the defense. They always concede far too many goals. Sometimes they overplay from the back and they give up possession. Let's see, because it's very important for Atalanta not to lose points at this early stage of the season. Usually they lose points between September and December, and that's where their chances of winning the title are compromised. So they need to stay in touch with the top teams, because I think this year Serie A is very open and they can have a chance to go all the way. For this reason, I think Atalanta are going to be extra motivated. They're going to score in both halves, 1.91.
David is supporting Salernitana, Forza Salerno. We all like Costiera Amalfitana. It's a huge gap, Danny. Now we are going to analyze all the 3 teams that were newly promoted to this Serie A, but I think there is a huge gap in the last years between Serie A and Serie B. The newly promoted teams are not doing great. We saw it last year with Crotone and Benevento, and probably this season Salernitana is struggling a lot. And let's see Empoli, for instance. Empoli Sampdoria, because I was a bit surprised after the victory in the Juventus Stadium. They lost at home against Venezia, who weren't doing the right things in the Serie A, lost their 2 home games. Empoli, and now they play a team like Sampdoria that they have not won a single game yet. 2 points, but they have a tough calendar. We have to say that they were able to draw against top teams like Inter and Sassuolo. This is a tough one, I guess, to call. The odds are pretty much the same for Empoli or for Sampdoria to win.
Difficult to call. Probably better to be cautious in terms of betting time. It could go either way. But let's start with Empoli. They deserve to lose against Venezia. I know they won at Turin and they were outstanding in that game. But against Venezia, they lacked ideas. They lacked almost interest, willing of some players to get involved. They lost possession a lot. They didn't create enough chances. I got it wrong. I expected them to beat Venezia, and in the end, it was the other way around. The issue that the manager Andrea Azzoli has pointed out after the game was slow circulation of the ball. I think Empoli is one of those teams that they cannot just be passengers and stroll by in games. They need to be at the top of the game, because as you mentioned, the golfing class between Serie A and Serie B quite wide. So if a team doesn't put 100%, like Empoli did against Juventus, they're going to be in trouble against more experienced team. The surprise that Venezia were able to take the 3 points away. Also because Empoli were surprised tactically by Venezia. Venezia tried to stretch them a lot of run behinds. Perhaps Empoli were set up with the line too high. They changed in the end. It was too late. Maybe Andrea Azzoli is going to go for a more cautious approach. I know he's been playing 2 strikers up front, Cutrone and Mancuso. I wonder whether he's going to revert to only a one up top, especially against a very experienced Sampdoria team who always put a good fight, especially with Inter, we must say. Last year they won, this year 2-2. But both deserved the 2-2. I think is the fair result. And they went toe-to-toe with Inter in the end. They had more shots on target than Inter. They completed more passes. They had similar possession, but big question mark is, now with the change of manager from Ranieri to D'Aversa, are they going to be brave also playing away? Because that will let them down a lot last season. When they were going away, how of a sudden they were playing only with 1 striker. They weren't retaining the ball too much. They were a little bit timid. So let's see if they're going to be brave. And maybe the defense can still be an issue. Only 1 clean sheet in the last 4 official games of this season. As I said earlier, be cautious with this one. Asian handicap 0. Empoli is 198. Sampdoria is 195. I'll let you pick what you decide, but it's basically a double chance. I'm gonna go for Empoli. Let's say Empoli 198, Asian handicap 0.
Oktay is going on the other side. Actually, welcome Oktay for Sampdoria, for the Blue Cerchiati. Tough one to call, and we mentioned before that Empoli lost the last game against Venezia. We have an important game, I'm sure, in the long run for staying in Serie A, Venezia, Spezia, because this season Spezia will struggle without the manager Italiano. As you said, Danny, they lost against Udinese the last game. They were thrashed in the away game against Lazio, and now they travel to Ferrara, because this game is going to be played in Ferrara, not in the beautiful stadium of Venezia. And as we see here, Danny, another one that I guess is very tough to call, at least for the outright market.
A 6-pointer, of course. They start so early, although Spezia only got 0 point. Venezia is unpredictable. I think this is a team that is going to be very entertaining to watch, but very difficult to bet on it. You can see the odds on the screen, because Paolo Zanetti will make a lot of changes to the formations week in and week out until he finds a structure. So expect always 3 or 4 changes. I mean, if you're playing the fantasy league in Italy, it's a nightmare if you got a Venezia player, because you never know if they're going to start or they're going to be on the bench. However, against Empoli, as I said earlier, good collective display. They knew how to suffer also. They knew how to be tight at the back, which is very important. In Serie A, defenses still win you a lot of games. That's not the Premier League. They conceded 6 so far, though. So, again, they never kept a clean sheet. Scored 2, Venezia, which were worth 3 points. Spezia, a bit unlucky, I would say, against Udinese, because they had a goal clear off the line just before conceded. They created chances in the second half. I think it was a step in the right direction, the game against Udinese for Thiago Motta, man. I always wonder whether Spezia has got the players to play the style of Thiago Motta, which is a lot of retaining possessions, slow build-up, etc., whereas they were much more aggressive with Italiano. The problem with Spezia is that they need a goal scorer. Good news for them is that finally, maybe Italiano is thinking, I got Nzola. No, I haven't been playing him recently, really. I don't know why he doesn't like him. Last year, he scored 13 goals. Basically, was the Salvador of Spezia. This week, maybe he's going to be on the bench, but they do need Nzola, I think. They need the target man up front. They play better with a 4-3-3 when Motta switched to that. But let's look, as I said, this is difficult to call. This is almost impossible to call. So I had a look at the stats for you last night. Spezia has already conceded 6 goals in the second half of this season. Venezia has already conceded 5 in the second half this season. So over 1.5 goals in the second half, 195.
Rui Pedro is telling us draw no bet for Venezia, so Asian handicap 0, and I was wrong actually. They are gonna play in the Pierluigi Penso di Santa Elena, because they just refurbished it. It's the second oldest stadium in Italy. I thought they were still gonna play in Ferrara, but not. If someone has not looked yet the stadium, take a look on Google, because it's so nice to see the Penso Stadium in Venezia.
They just have to be careful with the clearances, because there must be hundreds of balls in the water. But apart from that,
always be careful in Venezia. You can step on the canals. Yeah, then we go to the capital, to Rome, Lazio. Cagliari, very disappointing again, Lazio, in the Europa League game against Galatasaray. We did not expect a defeat there. Also, they are coming from that defeat in San Siro. Sarri is still calm, but 2 bad results in a row. Now they are playing against Cagliari. As you said before, they sacked their manager, a classic of Serie A, Walter Mazzarri, is taking charge. I'm wondering, Danny, what happened if after only 3 games they are sacking the coach? I mean, they have 1 point. It's not that terrible, but something was not clicking again in Sardinia. So there is this change of manager. Lazio, of course, they won. They have to win, and they are so favorite for this game.
Strange sacking, the one of Leonardo Semplici, who was brought in last season to replace Di Francesco. He made almost a half a miracle to save them from the position they were in the team. don't get me wrong, I think Cagliari should have never been that low last year because they have a good team, and this is a team that back in 2019, December 2019, they were fourth in the table. So they have got talent, they have got players and experience as well. What happened with Semplic is there were some disagreements with the president. Although the team has been strengthened, Semplic, complained he never had the full squad available to train because of different reasons. So I think it's unfair that they sacked him. What do we actually expect? And also, when you look at the replacement, I mean, they haven't gone for Julius Nagelsmann or someone from the Dutch school. With all the due respect, they went for Walter Mazzarri, 60 years old, 462 times manager in Serie A, very experienced, but he's from the conservative school, is from the old school. He's a master in saving small teams. I remember at the early 2000s, he saved Regina, the newly promoted team from Reggio Calabria, 3 times, and actually once he saved them when they were starting with minus 11 points, still managed them to save. But I think Mazzarri is going to keep the same 3-5-2. He's going to try to steady the defense, was already conceded 9. He's gonna try basically to make them apply the same tactics, the same plan with Semplici, with a little bit better, and try to use his charisma to revitalize the environment. Mazzarri also had an experience as a player in Cagliari, so maybe he's got that connection. But we're going back to when television was black and white, probably. Lazio, intermittent in Istanbul. Disappointing, punished by a mistake by the keeper Strakosha, but I think Sarri wanted a reaction after the defeat in Milan. That's why he didn't make a lot of turnover. He kept a lot of the starters playing in Istanbul. They didn't create many chances, and also they didn't create chances against Milan last week when they were deservedly defeated. They suffered the high press. They suffered the intensity of the Milan team. It seems that Sarri ball still not ingrained in the mind of the players. But, once Sarri said that it takes a team 3 years to understand his tactics, well, he needs to be a little bit quicker, because I don't think Lotito's got a lot of patience. So, either needs to adapt his style, it's difficult because he's quite an integralist, or the players need to step up and understand what he wants. He wants them to press higher. He wants to use the space on the pitch a little bit better, exchange quick passes. Remember, Lazio with Simone Inzaghi were set up more to counter-attack, so they need a lead time. But I think every time there is a change in management, and I'm talking about Cagliari, there is a reaction. I think there's going to be a reaction. I'm not going to say Cagliari are going to win. First half, double chance. Check the odds, 255.
Ankur looks very angry with Lazio, actually. He's done with Lazio. Cagliari, double chance, but in the overall time, you said in the first time?
First half is better. Ankur is better. It's better.
First half, Shuban is going for goals over 3.5, and Tevin is telling us something very important. Come on, guys, and please press the thumbs up, of course. Press the like button. If you enjoy our videos, then let's go to the other team that they sacked their manager, Verona Roma. And you mentioned before Di Francesco, he's getting quite good money being sacked of Cagliari last season. Verona this season, his career is going down and down after bringing Roma to the semifinals of the Champions League. Now, Roma, talking about Roma, perfect start for Mourinho. They are on top of the table. Even in Europe, they were able to thrust on Thursday CSKA Sofia. What a goal scored by even El Shaarawy is scoring goals. And a beautiful goal against Sassuolo in the last minutes of the game to get the 3 points. Verona, Dani, we said it, 0 points. They are at the bottom with Salerno. They lost against Bologna, Inter, and Sassuolo. Now, a football player that we saw with Juventus, Tudor, is taking charge.
Okay, if Verona had stayed with Di Francesco, they would have gone down. So in this regards, it's a good choice to sack him. But I think the bad choice is either to hire Di Francesco at the beginning and not giving him the players that he need to play the football he wants, possession football, attacking football. It was basically Juric's team, which is very physical, very direct, without the best players. They sold the keeper, they sold Lovato, Di Marco is back at Inter, they sold Zaccagni. I mean, poor Di Francesco, what does he have to do? However, I'm a bit angry with Di Francesco. Why taking on this job if you can't deliver, if you know you haven't got the players to deliver? Why do you need that? You can't just accept any object that passes through. Okay, I'll get that. Yeah, I'll get that job, get sacked and move on. I mean, the shocking statistic about Di Francesco, you know when it was the last time he won? November in Serie A. I'm sure he's won some friendlies. November 2020, last Serie A won for Di Francesco. And this, yes, he's a manager who took Roma to a semi-final. But I watched Verona against Bologna. I wanted to scream at the TV. They were completely toothless against Bologna. They couldn't produce a shot on target against a defense. The Bologna, it's not the greatest. It's a bit leaky. Now they got Tudor. New manager, but he's got fairly good experience. Last year he was this assistant at Pirlo, but he also is managing Croatia. He managed to save Udinese twice in a row in 2 seasons. What is he going to do? What is he going to change? Nothing. He's going to stick with 3-5-2. So again, similar to Mazzarri that I said before. He's going to basically try to steady the ship. He's got players that play direct football. They're very physical. They win a lot of aerial battles. Well, let's stick to that. So let's basically try to play the game that Juric was playing with different players, with less quality. Let's be hard to beat. And then maybe eventually he will start changing things in a couple of weeks. Maybe he's going to play with 2 strikers, Kalinic and Simeone, maybe a number 10. In behind them, he's got Barak and Caprari. They also have Lasagna. The problem with Verona, you can name all the strikers, but these are people that have never been into double figures very recently. Maybe just Barak last season, but you'll correct me if I'm wrong. So they lack a goal scorer. Roma, as I said before in Sassuolo, I'm not going to repeat myself. They didn't deserve to win, but this is street fight Roma. This is hardcore Roma. They go for it. There's a lot of grinta, that's what we call in Italy, with Mourinho, of course, that is instilling that passion, and he's run under the Curva Sud. All the antics, okay, but this is the color. The game against Sassuolo, they look a bit fragile on the counter-attack. They left themselves exposed. And also, they didn't create as many chances as Sassuolo. I think what they should have tried to do is to get Abraham more involved into the game. Sometimes they left him too isolated. They have Lorenzo Pellegrini is in fantastic form. Zaniolo, who I praised a lot and I spoke a lot about in the previous weeks, is not yet clicking. He's coming back from 2 years of injuries, but he could be the new weapon of this Roma. 5-1 wins against CSKA Sofia. Very simple. They played pretty much with their flip-flops on. Maybe a little bit of fatigue after the Conference League. And again, the reaction of Verona, the new manager, someone says -1 on Roma. Yes and no, under 2.5 goals, 223.
Yeah, everyone agrees here. Roma to back Roma with Asian handicap -1, Shubham or Ankur. But you are more cautious. I think everyone has to like the celebration of Mourinho with the Curva Sud. What a picture for the Giallorossi fans.
I prefer if they leave it for a Champions League final,
well, little by little. At least 3 games, 3 victories, exactly the same as Milan. They are playing in the Juventus Stadium in the game of the games of this 4th match day. And after the European competitions, probably both arrive with more power to this game, because despite the defeat for Milan in Anfield, I think they played a great game. They were able to bounce back after a bad first half and conceding the first goal at Anfield. They fought back, although they lost against one of the best teams in Europe, but they showed, Danny, that they can compete, whereas Juventus, they had to bounce back after this terrible start of the season. They scored 3 goals against Malmo in the first half, and my friend also, Morata, scored his goal. And what to say about Chesney also, I wanted to ask you about the terrible goalkeeping. How many points already Juventus lost because of Chesney in this start of Serie A? Even despite what we are seeing so far in Serie A, Juve are so favorites for this game.
There was a reaction in Sweden against Malmo after a bit of a shaky start. You can tell they still have confident issues, but then the class of the players, it was so important to get the starters back. Let's not forget in Naples, they were missing 6 first-team players, including Dybala, Quadrado, Bentancur. They all played in Malmo. We saw the difference. We saw them being much more on the ball this time. But yes, the start was a bit shaky. So I think Allegri needs a lot of work to reinstill confidence in this team that perhaps has not been properly managed last season with the Pirlo. Lot of managerial changes as well. They still don't have their own style. Let's put it that way. And yes, the goalkeeper is an issue. They pay the mistakes of Szczesny. He's still going to be the number one than Szczesny. But, guys, it's easy to criticize it. We've never been goalkeepers. So we need to be, I know. But we need to be careful because, yes, I agree with you. Juventus could have gone for Donnarumma, maybe, if you say that, or they could have gone for Musso of Atalanta. Different choices. Let's not start, where the finances of Juventus are. But changing the keeper now, when you got Perin, hasn't played many games either. The third keeper is Pinsoglio. He's always on the bench. He's basically almost a supporter who doesn't pay the ticket. So, you just have to, you have to be careful. But with Juve, let's see if they can impose the rhythm to the game. Let's see if they can get a foothold in midfield with Locatelli, who's trying to grow in the role of a playmaker. I still don't think he's the playmaker Juventus needed. But after Champions League, it's always tricky. It also depends who's got the deepest squad. And Juventus might have a deeper squad of Milan. However, they play a Milan team that, when you say they did well at Liverpool, I do agree with you, but I also partially disagree because football is made of episodes. If Salah scores the second goal, the penalty in the first half, I think Milan's are out of the game, and they were outplayed for most part of the first half. They suffered the very high intensity and high rhythm. Then they come back into it. So we also have to look at the episodes. I think the good things about Milan is that they got their own style now. They got their own identities. The player seems not to depend too much from Ibrahimovic, whereas a couple of years ago it was Ibra dependent. Now players have grown. Brahim Diaz has stepped up massively. He's improved. Leao as well. Rebic. So, and also they found an excellent goalkeeper in Magnon. I think he's a keeper that, especially between the sticks, it's outstanding and is very good with their feet as well. So Milan have got a style. Juventus, maybe not yet. These are tough one to call. As you can see, all the odds are very good, even for a Juventus draw. But Milan last year were the best team away, record points. They won at Turin 3-0. Asian handicap for Milan, 260. So if Milan wins, you win your stake. If they draw, you do not lose your stake.
I like that bet. Pavel is going for a draw at halftime and full time. This is 5.5, and David is back in Milan because the odds 3.66 sounds very, very good for him. And Shuban for both teams to score. For sure, there is also Tevin actually for both teams to score. Very good odds for the best game we have in this match day. And we have to finish with the game we have in Friuli, Udinese, Napoli. Tough game. This one for Napoli, I wouldn't trust at all. These odds 1.93 for Napoli. I think they are too low. Napoli played on Thursday a tough game in the Europa League against Leicester City. Osimhen scored 2 goals to give them a point. It's true that they have 9 points. They won absolutely everything, but in my opinion, they've been a little bit lucky in this start of the season. And Udinese, Dani, one of the positive surprises of this start of the season, I think No one in Udine expected 7 points. It's true that they beat Venezia or Spezia, teams that they should beat, but remember that in the first game, they were able to get a point from Juventus.
Yes, and let's start with Udinese. A touch lucky against Spezia, as we said before. Maybe the draw would have been a fair result. Spezia had a few chances. Then Udinese scored in the very last minute with Samardzic, the German that they brought in from Leipzig to become the new Rodrigo De Paul. Good start for him. Let's see if he plays a little bit more. But I think Udinese confirmed the impression that they're going to be compact, solid, not easy to score against, especially at Friuli. Last year, let's not forget, they had a very good record at home up until March time. They scored 5 at home already. So it is a team that slowly is finding their feet and they're playing with a little bit more freedom. Also because they realize, I don't think that this year they're going to be in trouble. So they need to try to push to the higher part of the table. Whereas for Napoli, sometimes in this start of the season under Spalletti, they pay the slow start. They started slowly against Juventus, conceded a sloppy goal. Same with Leicester, where they played a very strong team. Again, Spalletti, like Sarri, didn't do much turnover. In the end, it paid off because I think the Leicester team was a little bit under strength. So Napoli slowly imposed themselves a little bit more. They forced Leicester to play like an away team, but then conceded a second goal on a counter-attack, so they left themselves exposed. It's the lapses of concentration that they also had with Gattuso that Spalletti is trying to control. But the second half display was convincing. 2 great goals from Osimhen. If there is a thing that this Napoli team can do, it's score goals and score late goals. They score a few in the second half already of this season. This is a game, again, going to be played on Monday, so Napoli is going to have a little bit of rest, but Udinese had more than a week to prepare for this game. They're going to be well up for it. Over 2.5 goals, 195.
Goals in Monday evening for you. Ankur is telling us that the French league is the best for betting. Well, luckily we have also a show for Ligue 1 with Alain Balnegre, and he's giving us a lot of green predictions. Then, Danny, we have everything for this exciting, as always, Serie A. The 4th match day. Let's listen to your ACCA.
Okay, 5 games as always. Genoa and Fiorentina both to score. Atalanta to win the first half. Venezia and Spezia over 1.5 goals. Roma to take the lead at Verona, and Udinese and Napoli double chance 1-2. So either win for Udinese or Napoli. The odds, not great, but better than nothing. 9.91.
Okay, you will have the ACCA as always in the description if you want to check it. Danny, that's all. Thank you very much for being once again with us, and thanks everyone for commenting and following Serie A with us. Don't forget to still comment your predictions, of course, and your tips in the comment section, and click on the like and subscribe to our channel, of course, and click on the bell to get notifications. We are back next week because we have a lot of football. We have Serie A in the middle of the week. So very soon we will talk again, Danny. See you soon.
Ciao, enjoy.